Hey, you're watching MustangsTV.com. I am Kenny Beckman, here with Loretta High School alum, the only All-American high school basketball player to ever attend Loretta High, Jennifer White. How's it going?
Look, Kenny, it is really great to be here. I really appreciate you're doing this, and I've always loved the Loretta community. Will never forget my roots, and especially being from the metropolis of Rascal Town, Tennessee, and then moving to Austin, Texas. That's where I am now, but I can't be more happy to be back here with you.
Well, we can't tell you how happy we are to have you here with us and talking with us and answering our questions today. And you know, it's been a long time, and so many people want to know what Jennifer White has been up to. And, you know, today I want to speak on stuff with the big picture, you know,
Okay.
and which, you know, leads me to my first question. What sparked your love for basketball, and who really inspired you to play the sport?
Let me tell you, I've been playing sports ever since I can remember. My dad was a principal at Lexington High School, and between getting there early in the morning and playing, and then in the afternoon we stayed, and I always played sports with the guys. And it was just me and about 25 guys playing sports. And when I was in the first grade, I could outrun, outthrow, outshoot, out-hit any guy. And that pretty much continued a long time. But in the second grade, when I beat a bunch of guys in a basketball game, I thought, I'm going to be pretty good. And I cannot remember ever not being a good athlete and being in shape. So my intensity and my love grew for sports because, honestly, I wanted to be better than all the guys. And that fueled me through my elementary school days. I wanted to be better than any guy that I was going against. And
so you've had that mindset ever since a young age, you know?
Absolutely. I wanted to just be really good. And I was really motivated at first by wanting to be better than the guys. And then my motivation shifted. But that was probably first through the 8th grade, that was my main motivation.
Awesome. Well, you know, you're said to be one of the best shooters to ever attend Loretta High School. And is there a secret about it? Is there a story? Could you tell us, you know, how you learned to shoot so well?
Okay, I'm going to tell you a couple of things. One, I knew that I could shoot well, but when I was in the 7th grade, Jerry Taylor came to watch me play, and he said, I need you to get your shot higher. So I really worked on the mechanics of my shot. And when I'm talking about working, I'm not talking about going out and shooting 50, 60 shots. I'm talking about shooting 400, 500, 800 shots in a day to be a really good shooter. Now, my technique was good, so that worked, but I still had to work on my technique. But I would shoot, there were days I probably shot 1,000 shots. But probably my favorite story to tell how I learned to be a really good shooter is my first basketball goal was out in a cow pasture. And the cows would come and do their thing on my court. So I had a shovel on the back of the house. I'd take my shovel out and I'd shovel some of the cow patties off, but I'd leave some of the ones that in strategic locations that I knew I was going to shoot in that spot. So I'd dribble up to the cow patty, jump up and shoot. And of course, if I didn't pretty much go straight up and straight down, I'd land in the cow patty.
Yeah.
And I spent the first at least 2 weeks wiping my tennis shoes off and leaving them at the back door because I just splattered those cow patties. And then after about 2 weeks, oh my gosh, my shot just got better, and I had clean shoes when I walked in. So
whatever it takes to learn.
Whatever it takes. And I was had a good imagination as a little kid, so that was part of my imagination. I didn't look at those cow patties and go, oh my gosh, they're messing up my court. I thought, how can I turn this into something positive? And that's the way. That's probably the way I've been most of my life.
I think that's a great quality to have, and everybody should learn something from that. To kind of change the subject a bit, you know, is it true that you worked with the national championship Baylor team in the recent weeks?
Yes, about 10 days ago, I went and worked the Baylor camp, and we had 5 gyms going. We had 505 kids at the camp, and so they put me in charge of the main Farrell Center where the women's team plays. So I had a couple of their players working with us, and so yes, I did work, get to see their whole team. Most of them are still there for this summer for summer school, but spent a lot of time with Kim. And it's funny, everybody looks like they're in shock when I call her Kim, but because they all call her Coach Mulkey. But that's all I've known. I've known her since I was 19. So all I've known
teammates.
Yes, teammates. We were suite mates. I was in her wedding. So I've always known her as Kim. Yeah. Not Coach Mulkey or anything else.
Well, you know, in saying that, could you tell us about what you've been doing with your life, in the past, and just catch us up on what you've been doing over the years, and talk about what you did in college with playing at Louisiana Tech, and why did you ultimately pick that school?
It's a funny story. I will tell you, I was going to go to the University of Tennessee, and this is the honest to goodness truth. So many people have wondered and asked me about this. I'd played for Pat Summitt in the summer. Holly Warlick, who is now the head coach there, was my roommate on this summer USA team. And so I decided I was going to Tennessee, and we were still playing the 6-on-6 basketball then, and Pat was making a big push to go 5-on-5. And so she knew I was coming to Tennessee. Everybody knew I was going to Tennessee. And then what happened, she made a statement in the paper that I'm not going to recruit another player from Tennessee until y'all go 5-on-5. So Pat Head back then calls me on the phone, and she says, Jennifer, you're going to have to go somewhere else. And I was crushed, absolutely crushed. Wow. But again, I used that as motivation. So I looked and I said, I'm going to find the school. Academically, I knew I'd be a good student. It didn't matter where I went. So I looked for a school that I knew would compete for a national championship. And that school happened to be Louisiana Tech. I signed to go there. We beat, like I said, I was very motivated by not getting to go to Tennessee. We beat Tennessee 8 out of 9 times, and we won 2 national championships during that time. And then I coached there, and we won a 3rd national championship while I was at Louisiana Tech. Then the quick story is I go from there to the University of Texas, and I get to coach with Jody Conrad, who's an icon. And then I owned a sports and fitness business for 11 years in Austin. I trained about 650 athletes. I had a couple of pro athletes, some really super athletes that I got to train. And then a job came open at St. Edward's University. I applied for that job, got it, and now I'm actually on a new adventure. Maybe you can ask me about that later. I'll tell you my new adventure.
Sure, yeah. So, you grew up in Rascaltown, and we all want to know, do you ever want to move back here and live, for the rest of your life?
Look, I love Rascaltown, and I've thought about this. If I would love to come back to Rascaltown, 65, 70 years old, but I'm going to have a few things, because I'm a very adventurous, very outgoing, sports-minded person. So as long as I have a horse, a 4-wheeler, a Jeep, and a Harley motorcycle, I think I'm going to be okay if I come back to live in Rascaltown.
Wow, those are some pretty great things right there.
Well, I wasn't going to have a Jeep, but somebody told me if you come back to Rascaltown, everybody needs either a Jeep or a truck.
Probably a must to have.
Got to have one.
So, moving on, I understand that your sister Beverly was a great player, a great basketball player in the past. Were you really competitive with her growing up, not just on the court, but in life?
Let me tell you, I told you first through the 8th grade that motivation to beating the guys was my motivation for the most part. But I will say when I was part of the other part of that is when I was in about the 7th or 8th grade, my sister was playing for Loretta High School. And I'll never forget being in my Aunt Eileen's store, Ray and Eileen's store, and these 2 older gentlemen were talking, and my sister and I walked in, and they went, those are the 2 players, that white sisters that play for Loretta. And so, and they went on in their conversation. You see the little one there, and that was me. They're like, she's not going to be as good as her sister. Her sister is fantastic. She's no way she's going to be as good as her sister. Well, all I need is a little bit of motivation.
Hey,
so
whatever it drives you now.
I was determined to be as good as my sister, but let me tell you, she doesn't get the credit that she deserves as a player at Loretta. She was one of the best shooters ever at Loretta. She could stop on a dime and jump up and shoot and nail it. And she was, to me, I got to break all of her records, but I think she's definitely one of the top 3 players to ever play there.
Wow.
And she just doesn't get enough credit. But that was my motivation. And we did play a lot of one-on-one, and probably my favorite story about that is she was beating me one day. She was a senior in high school. I was a freshman. Our goal had moved from the pasture to the end of our driveway, which was yay. So we were playing one day. She was beating me, and I just shoved her into the basket. And her wire rim glasses just folded on the back of her head. And then we got in a fight. And then she took off running in the house, and I threw the basketball, and she kind of grinned at me and opened the screen door. And the basketball shatters the screen door. We both got a pretty good little spanking from that. But Beverly was really, really good. And if she hadn't had 3 knee surgeries, she would have been one of the best basketball players the University of Alabama ever had.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's safe to say that you both are legends at Lodi High.
Well, the main thing, I didn't really think of it like that when I was playing. I just wanted to be really good. And I was going to do everything I could to be really good. I was really motivated. And some of the things about my life, my motivation was so high that there were kids who had parties, but I would never go because I wanted to get my rest. Or there were things that would go on outside of school that my focus was so on basketball that I would not do them because I wanted my rest. Or people would have slumber parties, and I would say, I can't go. I need my rest. I've got a game in 2 days.
Yeah.
Very focused, almost kind of very unusual kind of focus.
Well, if you're totally absorbed in that one thing or whatever you're doing in life, you have to block out everything else and just, be totally dedicated, like you said, to that one thing. So you talked about it earlier, but could you speak a little more on how the game of basketball has changed over the years?
When I was growing up, I spent a lot of time by myself practicing. Now, I played AAU basketball in the summer, 5-on-5. I played for a United States team. But I went by myself and got in the gym and worked on my skill set. And I had a plan. I didn't just go in and shoot around. I had an organized plan. And kids today, most of the players today, a lot of them, they just want to go play in the summer on teams and AAU ball. And they don't go work on their skill set. And so they do get in better shape in the summer, but they definitely don't get the better skill set. And they don't become better shooters, better passers, better ball handlers. They just don't. And then we didn't have the three-point line back then either. So I spent a lot of my time working on my mid-range game. And my mid-range game was really good. And I could either take it all the way to the basket, to the hole, or I would shoot a mid-range jumper. And today it's people just want to stand outside and shoot threes. And especially the females. If you get a female who can drive to the basket and score, oh my gosh, she's such a hot commodity, because most players, especially females, just want to stand and shoot. And you see that in the NBA Finals right now. LeBron James, they keep telling him he's going to the basket, he's going to the basket. Well, you want females that can really take it to the basket, and I just don't see that quality of skill set that I used to.
Okay, so at this time I think it'd be a good time to tell us a little about that adventure you're going to be pursuing in the future. Well,
I resigned my job at St. Edward's University at the end of February, and I'm now officiating basketball games. And so the goal is to move really fast up through the officiating ranks, which is what's happening already for me. I've really prayed a lot about this, and God has opened some unbelievable doors for me. Usually you have to go to camps, and a lot of camps, before they can put you on the court. Well, I went and spent one day with a pretty high-level Division I referee, and 2 days later they put me on the court. And now I've actually, this summer, officiated as many guys' games as I have girls. I love officiating the guys' games. It's a lot of fun. It's real fast, so I really like it. So hopefully in the next, I would say hopefully 2 years, the goal is to be officiating in the SEC, the Big 12, the ACC, and be officiating some big games.
That is so awesome. And speaking a message to our Lady Mustangs basketball team, is there any words or advice? Obviously you're great on the court, and you've got a lot of great tips that I'm sure you'd love to share. If you wouldn't mind giving some advice to our basketball team.
I'll go back to what I said earlier. You have to get in the gym and not only work hard, but work smart. One of my mottos when I was growing up is, no one ever died in sweat. No one ever drowned in sweat. And I didn't just go in the gym and shoot around. That's probably one of my biggest points to make. I had a plan. And I went through that plan, 20 minutes of ball handling. I had 26 different ball handling routines I had to do. Then I had a dribbling part, a ball handling part, a shooting part, and it was just organized. And one day, the end of my routine was always the same. I play a game called Me versus the Pro, where I had to make 11 shots before I missed 6. Then I had to go up and down the court and stay outside of 15 feet and make 10 in a row. And then I had to make 25 free throws in a row. That was the end of my workout. Now I'll tell you, one day to do just the going up and down and making 10 in a row outside of 15 feet took me 2 hours. But boy, you talk about the mental discipline it takes to do that and not just quit and give up and go get in your car. So I would challenge players today to go ahead and play AU basketball, but get in the gym and work on your game and have a plan. That would be my number one thing. And whatever you're going to do in a game, do in your practice, and do it as quick as you're going to do it in the game as you are in practice.
Yeah, there's a lot, to take from that. And if they work on it, I'm sure that they can exude that same stuff on the courts in the real season that they do in practice. My last question is, one to think about. What would you say your most memorable moment in high school, in college, and in life so far would be?
Well, just the teammates and how good we were. We were just good in high school. Our team, the 4 years I was in high school, we were just really good. But probably the memory that personally stuck out to me is this is kind of a funny story. They were giving out, they sold raffle tickets to give out to sell this Mustang car. And so I was sitting in the stands. We'd finished our game. The guys were getting ready to play, and everybody stopped and they said, "Jennifer White, will you come out of the stands?" I honestly, to this day, thought I was going to go draw the raffle ticket. And they ended up retiring my uniform in that moment. And I just never expected that. And it never even entered my mind. So the retirement of my uniform was really special to me for two reasons. One, that they thought enough of my athleticism and my skill set to do that. And two, I also felt it was being retired for my sister also. She wore the same number in high school, and I wanted that number. I started wearing that number my sophomore year after she graduated. But I really felt like it was being retired for both of us, just not me. At Louisiana Tech, it's got to be the friendships, but yes, the national championships. I mean, when you're the best team in the country, just so few people get to experience that. And our team, those 4 years while I was at Louisiana Tech, we went 140-8. Who does that? Now a few teams have done that. Connecticut's done that. Baylor's on a roll right now. But the national championships were just incredible. And then now, as I've coached quite a bit, it's watching players. Probably my favorite thing is you teach them something, and then they can't do it, and then all of a sudden they do it in a game and the light bulb goes off. You talking about just send chills down you when a player finally gets it. It's incredible. So
I can imagine what's going through somebody's mind when they reach that level.
Well, like I said, as a player, when you play on that level, and like I said, our basketball team then, we were 10 deep. I tell people at Louisiana Tech when I played, we were smart, we were mean, and we were together. And that's hard to beat. My favorite story, I'll tell you this one real quick. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Monsters, Inc., where they walk out of the tunnel and it's in slow motion and they're just...
Yeah.
Well, our team would do that when we would go to play people. We would all get together because the other team was usually practicing right before us, and we'd walk in the gym just almost slow motion with this scowl on our face and this look like you are going down.
In a way to intimidate.
And we did that every time we walked into a gym. So I just had great teammates, and they were just they were fantastic. The starting five at Louisiana Tech would have started for anybody else in the country except for Louisiana Tech. So it was some good times.
Yeah, I bet. Well, Jennifer, we can't thank you enough for being here with us today. It was just a great thing that you did at Loretta High School, and what you did will never be forgotten. It was a real pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Be sure to check back with us throughout the summer to find more great interviews. Thanks.